Hello Tarot lovers, my name is Dadi Rice and you are on my channel called Tarot Wisdom. This channel devoted to tarot practice, and today I would like to thank my subscribers and actually give away a piece of information which I normally present to my students in tarot class. There have been a lot of questions on my Instagram page about one of the major arcana cards, and that card is the Hangman. No wonder that you've got questions about this card. Yes, it's a very complex card, and yeah, it's kind of expect the unexpected when you get this card. Straight away, I will answer your question why it means pregnancy, or can it mean pregnancy? Yes, it can mean pregnancy. When you get the Hangman card, it could stand for pregnancy in health reading or relationship reading. This card is from the Ancestral Past Tarot deck. So you can see basically an embryo here. So pregnancy card. Probably so many different cards of the Hangman on my table answer your question why I have so many decks. One of the reasons for that is that every single card gives a little bit more information. And it's really good to have a better understanding of possibilities and varieties of the meaning of the Hangman. Obviously, we will start with the Hangman from traditional Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. Let's have a look at this card. So, what do you see here? A man is hanging upside down, one leg is free, while the other one is still attached to the tree. And the tree is the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. So green shoots here, they imply that restrictions on knowledge and life may apply only in the material world. The spiritual world promises more, supreme wisdom and eternal life. So what does it mean that he has one leg attached and the other one is free? So the attached to the tree leg is a symbol of material existence, and the free leg is the symbol of his spiritual self, being free from the physical world. The man has nimbus here, basically implying that he has the potential of being a martyr or a saint, and his legs here makes the figure 4, which we all know stands for completion. So the man has a potential for completion, but completion is yet to come. So we can see potential, right? So let's have a look at other cards as well. This one, for example, the Hangman, like doing yoga, right? And it's lady, I believe. Here is another lady on one of the cards. This one is from the Darkwood Tarot deck by Sasha Graham. And we've got quite a nice lady here, and the bat and the spider there. So what would that mean? Or for example, this one from the Heaven and Earth Tarot deck. We've got a man here, but if you have a closer look, here is a serpent here. Why do we have a serpent here? Then we need to refer to symbology, what a snake would mean, what a serpent would mean. And we've got triangles here. Why do we have them? That's another question, right? What I like about this card and the deck is basically that you can see an elemental association here. And you've got triangle pointed down, meaning that it's water. And then you've got planetary association, Neptune. And you've got zodiac sign correspondence, and it stands for Pisces. So you get so much information from one card. And let's have a look at this one. This one is from the Haunted House Tarot deck, and basically we can see a skeleton there. So skeleton has been there for centuries probably. So this skeleton had enough time to gain quite a different perspective on all the things happening around, right? Let's have a look at the Hangman from another deck from the Witch's Tarot deck, and here you can see a raven. And again, we need to refer to the symbology. So raven stands for initiation, intuition, prophecy. This one is from the deck called Everyday Witch Tarot deck, and you can see that this young witch, is hanging down from the broom, and there are chains here and there and logs. But if you have a closer look, you'll be able to notice a key in one of her hands, so she can free herself, right? Another quite interesting card is the Hangman from the Wheel of the Year Tarot deck, and you can see that he was covered in ice, frozen, right? And now we can see first rays of the sun and snow is melting. So there is opportunity and possibility to get out of this stagnation, of this pause. This card is from the Runic Tarot, and this card is really good example of why I encourage everyone to read the guidebook and manual. As you can see, this Hangman is not actually hanging from anywhere. He is on skis, and if you read the manual, you'll be able to understand why. So this man is not a man, he's actually the god, one of the northern gods, and he has come to aid to people who requested his support. So he sacrifices his time, he is making an effort to help someone. And you can see like war paint on his face and war tools in his hands, and actually arrows here. And another quite interesting card is the Hangman from Spellcaster's Tarot deck. Here the Hangman is hanging, but he or she is not upside down. But still we can understand that this person surrenders to experience, as this person cannot do much, right? Being in that state. So what would the Hangman mean in general? We looked at different cards, right? And we've got kind of feel. So what do you feel? What do you think this card could mean in general? Yes, of course. The Hangman is upside down, so meaning that nothing much he can do right now, right? So he surrenders to the experience. But what he can do is to look at the problem from another angle and get a new perspective. So this card encourages you to do the same. And when you do this, something good can be born from this difficult and unpleasant situation, right? What else? He is hanging upside down, so everything is on pause, right? No action time. But yeah, sometimes things could be moving, but very slowly, at snail pace. Okay, so if nothing much is happening here, what he can do? He can decide if to be frustrated by this experience or shift his energy and focus to something else and try to use this time wisely, right? Things are definitely beyond his control. Sometimes this card says that you are at crossroads and it's required to take a decision. It is time for a new perspective, for a change, for being different from the crowd. Thus, rest, relax, have a break from ordinary life to re-evaluate your priorities and decide what is important for you and what is not so much. The Hangman implies that you need to sacrifice something, or even yourself, for the sake of someone or something which is very important to you. And you do that in favor of tomorrow, for the sake of tomorrow, like being an example to others. So this card is the card of transformation and change on spiritual level as well. Here we can see yoga practice on this card. So it could imply that you seek more spiritually oriented life, and the Hangman implies that you are spiritually ready for a major transformation. This card can also be the card of meditation, for example, the card of spiritual development, finding your true self, awakening your intuitive powers, committing to your internal growth. So it's basically the card of wisdom. We've got snake here, right? Intuition and prophecy, self-knowledge, and desire for dedication. So on these cards, actually, you can see runes here. So it could be runes practice as well. But we need to keep our mind open. We need to be open-minded to other possibilities. So this card can be the card of runes, psychology, meditation, astral travel, trance, and taking into account all that, I would say that the spiritual work can become your line of work in terms of business as well. So that's what you can find in these cards. So when you get the Hangman card in your reading, be careful, because this card can be the card of a spiritualist, a practitioner, and trance medium, meditation facilitator, psychologist, hypnotherapist, and the like, as the significator card as well. Okay, so what would this card mean in terms of job? Any ideas? Right. Nothing is happening at work. No progress at work. Everything is up in the air. It's also the card of conflicts at work. You may feel as if you are not treated fairly at work. So this card would encourage you to listen to yourself and stand up for your interests and beliefs. When this card shows up in the reading, it could mean basically that you can lose your job. It can be redundancy. It can be termination. Basically, you can be fired when you get this card. So look at this situation from different perspective. For example, get out from the state of dependency, find a better job, open your own business, and the like. Okay, we've discussed what this card means in terms of job. So what would it mean in terms of finances? That's right. It would mean either no income or very small income. So you need to start thinking and looking for a way to solve your financial problems when you get this card. There could be unprofitable investments when you get this card. There could be financial loss. There could be huge expenses, which your income basically doesn't cover. Or, as I said, there could be no or little income. So basically, your expenses are much higher than the income that you currently have when you get this card. Also, this card would tell us that you need to be careful with resources. You need to be frugal, right? So you need to economize when you get this card. You can use your savings, but you need to be frugal. Often this card also shows up in my readings when a mortgage is draining you too much, or you are in some kind of bad contract that you cannot get rid of. And this card would encourage you to review situation and take a new decision as for example to refinance or seek for help somewhere. Okay, let's move on. Relationship, right? Beautiful card for relationship. So I'm often asked if it can mean pregnancy in relationship, and the answer is yes. Obviously I can see this, right? But in terms of relationship, like if we are not talking about pregnancy, then this card can basically mean that the relationship is on hold, if not falling apart. One person in the relationship feels like being rejected by the other one. This card is all about dependent relationship as well, where one partner feels like a victim. The person could feel like he or she is being used as a doormat. But at the same time, this person cannot release himself or herself from that bad, unhealthy relationship. Something is holding that person in that state, right? So this card would encourage you to let go of any old relationship or any relationship in which you suffer. Yeah, get it done with it. Another question which I often get is, what would this card mean for health? Obviously, we are not doctors here, but the Hangman in terms of health could mean pregnancy, as I mentioned before. This card could indicate illness or loss. So basically, when it stands for a sick person, it could indicate a terribly sick person, someone who spends most of the day in bed. This card can show up for a disabled person. And this card showed up in my readings for people in coma. But on a positive note, when you've got 3 of Cups together with a Hangman, it would mean recovery, so the person will get better. But if we get this card in reverse, what would it mean? There are definitely different approaches to reading reversed cards. One of them is that the meaning of the reversed card is opposite to the meaning of the upright card. But there are other ways of reading reverse cards as well. For example, that the energy is blocked, or it's excessive energy, or it's lack of energy of the upright card. So we'll talk about reverse cards separately in another class. But in general, speaking about what the Hangman means, if it's opposite meaning, so if this one is stagnation and crisis, right? Then when you get this card in reverse, it would mean changes, positive changes, that you're gradually getting out of stagnation or crisis. Sometimes, though, it can mean that you live up to expectations of others, but not your own life. In combination with negative cards, it could mean that you could blame others rather than admit your own mistakes. And sometimes this card can mean that your sacrifice was not required and it didn't do any good to anyone. So in terms of job, again, positive changes, right? Changes for the better, getting out from stagnation, meaning that new opportunities will appear and you should use your chances, for example, to find a new job. In terms of finances, again, this card would mean that you have found a way to solve your financial problems. For example, you got to get a few bucks on the side, or you got a new job. You could also sell your car and pay off the debt. You could refinance your mortgage, etc. It's positive change, right? but it's very important what cards you have next to the Hangman. Just because when this card is for stagnation, right, when we have in reverse, that stagnation is coming to the end, and things could change for better or worse. So we need to look at the cards around this card to know for sure what's going to happen. So that's why I'm always saying that reading cards in combination is paramount for a really good reading. So speaking about relationship, when you get this card in reverse, you do understand that there is a problem in the relationship and you need to assess and reevaluate it. You could try to understand what is causing problems in your relationship and decide how to deal with it. For example, you can fix it or decide to fix it, or you can decide to leave it basically. Again, the change could be either in this direction or in that direction, yeah? So we have to look at the cards around this one. And in terms of health, when this card shows up in the reading in reverse, it could mean that the person is coming out of sedation, as for example after a surgical operation. This card can show up for a person with illness or of psychological nature, as for example autism, various mania, paranoia, schizophrenia, depression, suicidal thoughts, and psychotic episodes. And this card in reverse can show up for a person with a substance abuse, such as alcohol and illicit drugs, and basically can indicate any disease associated with such abuse. Okay, my beautiful souls, I do hope you have enjoyed this video. I'm looking forward to your comments. Please let me know if you liked it, what you liked, what you didn't like. I very much appreciate communication with you and your thoughts. Thank you. Bye.